Please join me in thanking the Glee Club under the direction of Dr. Kevin Johnson with another round of applause. And we certainly want to say congratulations to our soloist, Daria Burgess, class of 2011. I would also like to thank Dean Rhodes for another beautiful and very thoughtful prayer. Certainly, we can applaud that. But it is now my tremendous honor to introduce this afternoon's speaker. First Lady Michelle Obama is a true servant leader. Her efforts to encourage national service, promote the arts and arts education, foster healthy eating and healthy living for children and families, and offer special support to military families, all while serving as a role model for working women who seek to maintain a balance between career and family, embody the ideals of the Spelman mission, inspiring positive change in the world. Like many Spelman women, past and present, Mrs. Obama comes from humble beginnings. Michelle LaVaughn Robinson was raised on the south side of Chicago by parents who instilled in her a strong work ethic and a commitment to providing her with a solid education. A product of the Chicago public school system, she went on to study sociology and African American studies at Princeton University and earn a law degree from Harvard University. Throughout her life, Mrs. Obama has demonstrated a dedication to giving back to her community. While in law school, she worked for legal aid, providing low-cost or free legal services for those in need. Although she went on to practice law in the private sector, she soon returned to life in public service, working for the mayor of Chicago and through AmeriCorps, leading Public Allies, an agency created to prepare young people for careers in public service. She went on to work at the University of Chicago, where as director of the University Community Service Center, she helped students to locate and obtain volunteer work opportunities and ultimately became the vice president for external affairs and community relations for the university's medical school. During her tenure, she significantly increased the number of hospital employees who volunteered outside of the hospital. Now, as First Lady, Mrs. Obama is able to expand her community outreach on a global scale. In addition to her national initiatives such as Let's Move, Mrs. Obama is a champion for issues impacting the daily lives of women and girls around the globe. From India to Haiti, and certainly right here at Spelman, she is an inspiration and an exemplar of extraordinary women who make a choice to change the world. Without further delay, I welcome First Lady Michelle Obama to bring the commencement address to the class of 2011.
Let me tell you, it is a pleasure and an honor, yes, Chicago, to be with all of you today. And I want to thank President Tatum for her leadership and for that very kind and generous introduction. She is such an inspiration to all of the women who are part of the Spelman family. So let's give her our thanks and round of applause. I also want to acknowledge a few people who are here in the audience. Senator Isaacson, Representative Johnson, and of course, Mayor Reed. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you all for your leadership. And I want to give a special shout out to one of my people, one of my staff members, Miss Kristen Jarvis, a Spelman class of 2003. Look, ladies, you want to know what Spelman does for you? Kristen is my right-hand woman. She travels with me all across the country and around the world. I don't know what I would do without her. She has been with me from the very beginning, looking after my girls, taking care of my mom. So I want to thank Spelman for giving me Kristen. And again, let's take a moment to thank all of those beautiful people sitting behind you all today and standing behind you every day, the folks who brought you into this world, the folks who showed you with their love that you belong here. They pushed you, they believed in you, and they answered calls those late nights, even when you were just calling for money. So again, let's give a special round of applause for all the families here today. And of course, most of all, to the Spelman class of 2011, congratulations! We are so proud of you. We're proud of the effort you've invested and the risks that you took. We're proud of the bonds that you forged, the growth that you've showed. We're proud of how for the past 4 years you've immersed yourselves in the life of the school and embraced all that it has to offer. In doing so, you didn't just write a chapter in your own life story, you also became part of the Spelman story, a story that began 130 years ago, about 10 miles down the road from where we are today. Now, by now, all of you know the details about how 2 white women from up north, Sophia Packard and Harriet Giles, came here to Atlanta to establish the Atlanta Baptist Female Seminary. Now we want the world to know this story. They started out in a dank church basement loaned to them by a kindly preacher named Father Quarles. And their first class had just 11 students, many of whom were former slaves. Back then, the thought of an African-American woman learning to read and write was to so many laughable at best and impossibility at worst. And plenty of people tried to dissuade Miss Packard and Miss Giles from founding this school. They said the South was too dangerous. They said that at the ages of 56 and 48, these women were too old. But these 2 ladies were unmoved. As Miss Giles put it, and these are her words, they were determined to lift up these women and girls who have never had a chance. It's a story that has been told and retold, enacted and reenacted in every generation since the day that Spelman first opened its doors. In a time of black codes and lynching, this school was training African American women to be leaders in education, in the health professions. In a time of legalized segregation, this school was establishing math and biology departments and training a generation of black women scientists. At a time when many workplaces were filled with not just glass ceilings, but brick walls, this school was urging black women to become doctors and lawyers, engineers, ambassadors. Now that is the story of Spelman College, that unyielding presumption of promise, that presumption of brilliance, that presumption that every woman who enrolls at this school has something infinitely valuable to offer this world. And ladies, that is now your story. That legacy is now your inheritance. And I've chosen that word inheritance very carefully because it's not an entitlement that you can take for granted. It's not a gift with which you can do whatever you please. It is a commitment that comes with a certain set of obligations, obligations that don't end when you march through that arch today. And that's really what I want to talk with you about this afternoon. I want to talk about the obligations that come with a Spelman education and how I believe you all might fulfill those obligations going forward. So let's go back again to those first 11 women in that church basement all those years ago. Their teachers started with nothing but a couple of Bibles, some notebooks, and some pencils. When it rained, it got so damp in that church that grass started growing on the floor. Often the stove was so smoky and the light was so poor that students could barely see their teachers. But still, week after week, more women showed up to enroll. Some walked 8 or 9 miles each way. Many were older, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Doesn't sound so old to me. And often, they were ridiculed, but they kept coming. One student, a woman named Marian simply stated, and these are her words, "I spoke of going to school and people laughed at me and said, 'You go to school? You're too old. You're so old you'll die there.' But I told them it was just as good a place to die in as I ever wanted. And I knew Miss Packard and Miss Giles would bury me, so I just came right along." Now that spark, that spirit, that odds-defying tenacity has defined the alumni of this school from its very first graduating class. I mean, think about one of my heroines, Marian Wright Edelman, class of 1960, working as a young civil rights lawyer down in Mississippi. Attorneys in judges' chambers refused to shake her hand. The sheriff locked the doors against her when she came to visit her clients in jail. She was always careful to leave the door open when she started her car in the morning. That way, if somebody had planted a car bomb, she'd had a chance of being injured rather than killed. But through it all, she continued to represent her clients. She continued to resist unjust laws with every fiber of her being. And then there's Janet Bragg, class of 1925, who was determined to be a pilot. When she was barred from flying out of segregated airports, she worked with her flying school classmates and instructors to build their own airfield. When she was rejected from the Women Air Force Service pilots because of her race, she enrolled in a civilian training program instead, and when she completed her training, but an instructor unfairly prevented her from receiving her license, she picked up and moved to Chicago, passed the exam, and became the first African-American woman to earn a commercial pilot's license. Of her experiences, she said, "There were so many things they said women couldn't do and blacks couldn't do. Every defeat to me was a challenge." For 6 generations, that is what Spelman women have done. They have seen every defeat as a challenge. Now, did they have moments of doubt, anxiety, and fear? Did they have moments of despair when they thought about giving up or giving in? Well, of course they did. We all do, and I am no exception. I mean, some of you may have grown up like me in neighborhoods where few had the chance to go to college, where being teased for doing well in school was a fact of life, where well-meaning but misguided folks questioned whether a girl with my background could get into a school like Princeton. Sometimes I'd save them the trouble and raise the questions myself in my own head, lying awake at night, doubting whether I had what it took to succeed. And the truth is that there will always be folks out there who make assumptions about others. There will always be folks who try to raise themselves up by cutting other people down. That happens to everyone, including me, throughout their lives. But when that happens to you all, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just stop a minute, take a deep breath, because it's going to need to be deep. And I want you to think about all those women who came before you.